Shinzo Sasageo.
Yes, as as we promised, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to an end of an era. This is our Attack on Titan finale. Both of us are dressed up in our Scout Regiment gear. Ooh, there's a lot to talk about in this. No quick catch up. No what's hot. This is a special bonus episode. We're gonna do a quick recap of it. If you've seen it, we'll just start off early. If you have not seen the finale of Attack on Titan, do not listen to this episode. We're going into full spoilers about the entire series, the manga, the dub version. I know English listeners, I'm sorry. There's not much we can do. But with that, I'm Demetrius.
And I'm Demetrius.
And Meechy Meech presents
the Blurred City Podcast.
All right, so hit us with that legal spiegel.
You already know the purpose of this podcast is to explore digital and print media. All sources we reference are owned by their respective companies, Hajime Isayama, and our thoughts and opinions are strictly our own and reflect no biases or corporate agendas. Your discretion is advised.
Yes. So anything you want to say before we get into the recap?
Peak. That is all.
All right. So just for, what was your reaction once you read the manga, but after you finished watching this finale, what was your initial reaction?
All right. So, coming into it as a guy who read the manga, who read the ending when it originally dropped, when everybody decided to review bomb it, I was one of those people that was like, I felt like that ending could have needed more. And then of course, like a few months later, he released some extra pages. I'm like, okay, this is better. This is way better. And it had me wondering, like, all right, when the world's about to happen here? I come into this finale. I'm expecting for it to be the same. What I was not expecting is for it to be as crispy as it was, because they were animating gods over there. They were Mappa's animation god, I tell you. There was no, the way everything was just in fluid motion, almost from start to finish, was just peak. And one thing that I believe that the anime accomplished better than the manga is just and it's just probably the nature of the animation itself, is just the music and the voice acting.
Oh, yeah.
Because those two things will make or break you.
Yes.
And in this case, it broke us.
Yeah.
It broke us horrendously. Folks is crying out here.
We will get to that.
That's all I gotta say. So I came in with some cautiously optimistic, came out of it just in pure bliss.
So
sadness.
Yeah. So post review, we're gonna get more in depth with the ending with that, because I have thoughts as well. Just like after I finished it, I cut the TV off and I was just sitting there, and I literally had 3 dreams. Every dream I had that night was about Attack on Titan. Literally every dream I had was about Attack on Titan, and I woke up in the middle of the night. I'll talk about it later, but I was waking up in the middle of the night just thinking about it. So with that, we are going to get into our recap again. If you have not watched Attack on Titan finale or read the manga and you plan on doing it and don't want to get spoiled, we're going into full spoilers. You have been warned.
Again, I will reiterate this, and we will reiterate this time and time again. If you haven't watched it, don't listen to this episode. If you still listen anyways, it's on you.
Yeah. So, yeah, jumping into it, picks up where the previous final chapter, part 1, took place. So kind of just with that, again, they jump off the plane, land on the back of Eren. If you want to take over from there.
Oh, yeah. So essentially it kicks off with chapter 3, the Battle of Heaven and Earth. First of all, the title, tough. And all right, so essentially at this point, they're all the remaining scouts, our remaining main characters, they just trying to find a Zeke, who is somewhere within Eren's founding Titan form, but unfortunately things is going pretty sideways truly quickly, because apparently all Ymir decided to say, you know what? Nah, my boy Aaron, he gonna need some she's gonna need some defense a little bit, and summon every single Titan user from the past, all the previous generation of Titan users, all of them. So Warhammer Titans, all pulled up, all the Jaw Titans, all the Cart Titans, all the Attack Titans. Everybody showed up, and they all went and started running fades. And before Armin, like, because the plan was like, all right, Armin transforms into Colossal, nuke the whole board, he finds Zeke, murk him, and then everything will be over, hopefully. Unfortunately, that does not happen. He gets snatched up real quickly by, I'm just gonna call it the Bull Titan.
Copy or whatever. I was like, what is this animal?
Yeah, no, that's the Bull Titan.
Yes.
And then at the same time, we have Peak and no, this is not simping hour. This is not simping channel anymore.
Really for Peak.
This is not a simping channel anymore, so I'm not simping for anybody. Okay, so we have Peak. She trying to just, you know what? We're just gonna go for Aaron's nape, going for his neck, literally. And you have Levi just being just Levi. That's all you get. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. Because
yes,
souls. And basically, it's just an all-out war. So because everybody's just trying to kill these Titans, but the Titans keep coming back. You have Mikasa, she trying her best. Connie, he getting knocked out. John, he doing his best. Peak tries to like throw some dynamite on Aaron's neck. But then she gets stabbed by the Warhammer Titan. It ain't looking good for anybody. Also, Reiner is the biggest punching bag in this episode.
I gotta say, Reiner throughout the series, how he didn't die is amazing.
Plot armor. Plot armor Titans.
Because he got his neck blown off. We'll talk about a little bit of what happened later. Like earlier in the series, multiple times he was getting gripped up. So yeah,
wow, how he should have been killed by Levi by getting decapitated, but no, it's a lot armor.
He moved himself.
Oh yeah, so, yeah, and then also just the final bit is just that, yeah, nobody's having a good time.
Yeah, so obviously, people that are still here listening, you probably most likely watch the episode. So just to kind of speed along, Armin's gripped up by the Bull Titan. So he's literally eaten, but like not chewed upon, like tongue and mouth. It was gross. But so that way he can't turn into the Colossal Titan. With that, Connie is like out of it, like completely. Bertolt comes back, and then he like straight up bites Reiner. So like you're like, oh my god, this is crazy. And like his mom sees it happen and she drops to her knees and everything. So it's like kind of a lost cause. Connie, Levi tries to save Connie, gets his leg bitten, essentially, and Mikasa's like, yo, if I gotta be her, I'm gonna be her. And one of the coolest shots of like this entire like scene is like she's just like between like the ribs or whatever, and then you just see wings behind her, and it looks so epic. And then it's like, boom, our boy drops out Falco with the crew.
Yep, Falco the Falcon Titan now. He managed to find a way to learn how to use his name and be able to fly. And of course, baby girl Annie, she there. And then I guess
Gabby.
I guess semi-redeemed phase Gabby decides to pull in. Yeah, it's whatever with her. Because we do not forget. We do not forget Sasha. We do not forget. But yeah, so they pulled up. They managed to save everybody and blow up Aaron's neck. Did absolutely nothing, by the way, because Aaron is him. And so at this point, they're just basically at this point where they just realize that, like, okay, that didn't work. Listen, at this point, they all just come to the very sobering and like very sad realization that Aaron gotta die.
Yeah.
Like he actually needs to go. Because he's doing damage. He's running roughshod. And all while you see this happening, you cut to the rumbling. The rumbling.
Yo, this broke me.
Just going,
this broke me.
Rumbling, just crushing through the city. People out here
giraffes.
folks is at the edge of the cliff, like in that movie. No, not in the movie. In Andor.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought of too. Yeah,
Andor sequence when they're at the cliff.
jump for
Like,
freedom.
it's either you jump for freedom or you gone. Some
Dude.
folks is falling off. There's a baby that's about to get taken out, but
We got to talk about the scene. This scene was so touching because like I forgot what the name of the movie is, but it's like a World War II movie. It's like where it's like it's in black and white, but it has like that one girl with a red scarf in it. But in this scene, it's played kind of like that. So it's like entirely black and white. Everyone's like scared, they're getting pushed off the cliff or whatnot, and you just see a mom who is also like in color with her baby, and then she gets knocked off of it. But then like, and you're like, oh my god, not the mom and the baby, please don't show me this. And then the baby goes forward because the dude saves her, and then they just start passing the baby forward as everyone keeps falling off. But at the same time, you're just like, even if you go forward, like the Titans are gonna crush the baby. And this scene, I was just like in tears, man, because it was so beautifully shot. And it's like there's nothing you can do to stop this. Like you're literally losing. That was incredible. Like writing. Was that in the manga?
yes, it was. But of course, as I said, animation wise,
Music, yes,
different. But yeah, and then all while that's happening, you cut to the Marleyans and the Eldians on top of that cliff, and they're like, "Hey, we need help because Capone, he out here, he leaking because he survived the plane crash, but he leaking right now. He needs help." But and then of course, like Annie's dad, he's like, "Hey, where my girl at?" And then all the Marleyans in their infinite wisdom decide to start pulling the guns on the Eldians. Eldians like, "Hey, yo, you know what? Forget y'all. We strapped too." and you know it's about to be a massacre. You hear bang, bang, bang.
Yes.
And then it cuts back to Calamity, aka the final battle, which goes stupid.
That's so crazy because it's that scene. And it kind of ties into the ending, but it represents like how much deep seated that conflict is. Like it would be like if I hated someone and we were like in the water and a megalodon was coming to eat both of us and we were trying to like drown the other. It's like we're both about to die if we don't do something. And it's like we're still stuck in that hatred, and it's so crazy. And it definitely ties into the ending later. So like back to the scene with that Armin, he's like, you know, thinking about, okay, I'm not dead. And he comes to the realization that since he's not dead. So then he goes to the past and he sees our boy Zeke, who looks like he's been there for a while going through it.
Listen, Zeke has been through it, and this ends up leading us to chapter 4. Long dream.
So he's like out here building sandcastles, Zeke, with that, and Armin's just talking to him, and they're talking about well, Zeke explains to him how life and it aims to multiply, and then it comes across this concept of death, which creates fear, and then you are always in a conflict of death, life and death. And that was just like that was the You Spitting Right Now award if we had one today with that. And then Armin is like, hey, these little moments kind of mean a lot. So he's like holding a leaf because it reminds him of when he was younger with Aaron and Mikasa. But Zeke sees the ball that he used to throw with the doctor, and it just like it ties in. And then as they have that conversation, you see boom, all the previous well, not all, but the ones that they're close to, previous Titan, you just pop up, and then that's when like the tides turn.
Oh yeah, because who else pulls up? You have Galliard, you have Bertolt, who decides to turn, and then I don't know if you caught it, but Grisha Yeager, aka Aaron Daddy, decides to pull up. Even Ymir, not the deity Ymir, but OG Jaw Titan.
When Ymir pulled up, I got emotional again because I don't think we ever saw her die. I just know we saw her get taken away, and then it was like, oh, this Galliard is the Jaw Titan, and then it's like implied, okay, she got eaten.
Yeah, like you knew she got taken out. It's just that we saw her get taken out.
So that was definitely emotional too.
Yeah, so with that, like everybody's going, like the plan is now in full commission. Of course, you got Peak, like with her Cart Titan ability, she can just transform over and over again as long as she isn't killed. So I'm like, okay, perfect endurance. And then you have Reiner. He out here. He finally locked in for the first time ever. He's like, okay, it's 1v100.
Yep.
Let me show you what these hands do.
It was crazy that he had to fight all the Warhammer Titans too.
All of them. They shooting them with arrows. They just smacking this man. But yeah, all at the same time, right? Of course, then you have Mikasa, who was finally able to free Armin from the Bull Titan, and he's just like, you know what? It's go time, and he blows up.
But there's something else that happened first.
Oh, what?
Toodaloo. Hello.
Oh,
bye.
Oh yeah, the biggest moment, because so at this point, right, because of the fact Zeke has that change of heart, he decides to just spawn at the top of his spine, and he's just yelling, and of course, like Levi, he's on Falco, pause, and then and he's just like, oh man, I wish I hadn't seen you, but you know what? It is what it is. Man, I done killed a lot of people. This view looks beautiful, but it's too good for me. And I really think I really think this should have been a good life. Closing his eyes, and then Levi decides to come in, avenge his brothers, avenge the crew, avenge Commander Irwin. Decapitation.
That was the cleanest decapitation in the whole show, in my opinion.
The most satisfying decapitation.
That was wild. So yeah, with that, Armin turns into the Colossal, essentially blows up Eren, and then we see, well, along these lines, because also like that's when his neck gets blown off. We see this I don't know what it's called, but it's like a centipede-esque creature that like connected to his head or whatever, and it's just like trying to reconnect at the time.
I was like, it does not have a name. It really doesn't.
So yes, with that, it's trying to reconnect to Eren. That's when it gets blown up. We're like, oh, okay, it's over. And then everyone, they get the happy reunion with the other Eldians and Marleyans, and then like we see that the standoff, didn't go through with that. So it's like a really touching moment at the time, and then we just hear the cha-ching, and like another essential Colossal Titan explosion, and Eren just rises up as a Colossal and is like, I'm going to keep moving forward, just like I said.
Yep. And then perhaps another of the biggest just L moments and just the biggest like saddening moments is the fact that the centipede starts spewing gas. And at this point, like almost nobody realized what's happening except for Levi, and then all the rest of the times where they just realize, hold up, oh no, everybody dip. All the Titans hop on Falco right now, because that gas is what transforms the humans into Titans. And of course, and it doesn't affect the Ackermans, aka Levi and Mikasa, so or any of the other Titan users, but everybody else is fair game. So
yeah.
Annie's Aries' dad, all the parents, Connie and Jean, Titan-fied.
Yeah, so that was like only two things got spoiled for me. But it was like a year ago, and for this one I didn't know the context of it, but I knew like Eren turned people into Titans, but then like seeing it was like, okay, it was Eren that quote unquote actually changed them to Titans, because that's how I thought it ended. But just seeing that was sad, because like Connie and Jean were like, it's over, man, but like putting their arms around each other, like accepting it. And then, oh my gosh. So the centipede is essentially trying to get back to Eren. At the same time, we see that they turn, so it's like an army. Reiner's trying to stop the centipede, but Mikasa's like having like headaches, and then flashes back to her having a kind of like a dreamlike conversation with Eren of like what it would have been if she actually confessed to him when they first visited outside of the island, at that one scene in the previous part 1 chapter. So with that, she kind of comes to a realization that he asked her to forget him, and she's like, I can't do that, but it gives her resolve. So with that, like, what I loved about the scene is like when they're like trying to stop that, and then Armin is fighting Eren, like the struggle with it, and Reiner was literally just like, when will our torment end? Because like, even though he was like one of the Eldians that essentially started all of this, their entire lives have just been struggle and chaos and pain. And that like ties into like what the story was as a whole. So, Mikasa, she does her thing. Levi has one more cool action scene, blows open the mouth. And this is what I got spoiled on, that I saw is where she cuts his head off, Aaron's, and then kisses it. So that was like the one thing that I got spoiled on, but I didn't know like the rest of the context. So I didn't know if that was like the end or whatever. So that kind of stops it. And then we get into the flashback scene with Armin.
Yep. Or as it's called, towards the tree on that hill. Essentially, this is the part where actually they changed it for the anime. They changed this part. So of course, like it's essentially like Aaron and Armin, they're kind of having like a mini flashback, like in their heads, right? Where well through the paths really of like Aaron and Armin, they're in their lives. And basically, like Aaron's just explaining himself. He explained like, hey, ever since I touched Historia's hand, my mind is a mess, became just a wreck because I could see the past, the present, and the future at the same time. And no matter what I could do, there was no way I could change it to where like we could all like be happy together. And like it was the point where Sasha died that made me realize that nothing could change. So I basically I had no choice but to go through the rumbling. I had no choice but to go through genocide because if because it was predestined for me. And this was the only outcome I could think of because of the fact I'm an idiot who got godlike power and I just couldn't deal with it. And essentially, like, it got to the point where he's just like, yeah, so like, my main plan is, all right, I'm just becoming the huge villain. I'm making all of you all heroes to kill me to save humanity. So that way, Paradise Island essentially becomes right with the world, gets to join the world once again, and then at the same time, like and then I just want to be able to rest. You know what I'm saying? And of course, like Armin, he's just like, bro, we could have thought of like another solution. We could have thought this out. I was like, no, we could not because it was destined for me. And and then there was like this point where it's like he's like, I don't want to be the hero. I don't want to be the hero. It's like, listen, boom, and then Aaron just takes him out to the world, takes him to a volcano with lava, and basically realized like, hey, there was a reason Ymir just kept going. There's a reason Ymir like kept the Titans alive, and that was because she was still in love with the king, and that made her subservient. And then also at the same time, it was because of Mikasa's like resolve in her will. Like I don't know why, but like it's because of that Ymir was finally able to let go and be able to like release the Titans. So there'll be no more Titans from now on. And then also he finally confesses that, hey, I'm in love with Mikasa.
Except Aaron.
Yeah, like, and he did this in such an uncool way. I'm not even gonna hold you. He's sitting down, like they're sitting down in some water, and he's like, listen, I love Mikasa. I want her to like be happy, but I don't want her to forget about me. I don't want to be like, I want to be with her forever, but I know I can't because I'm gonna die soon. I don't want to die. And I'm like, that is real. That is real. Like knowing you about to die, but not being able to tell like the one you love that you're gonna die, and I have to push her away because of it. It's crazy. But here's the part that they changed, right? All right, so then there's the big bombshell where Aaron admits like, okay, so in my rumbling, I killed 80% of humanity.
That was the part that dropped my jaw.
I murdered 80% of humanity. I brought them down to the same numbers that we had on Paradise Island. And so that way there's no more war, there's more conflict and none of that. And in the manga, right, Aaron and Armin, they talk about that, and they're like sitting on some steps, and Armin just has a shocked look on his face. anime wise, that Armin just loses it and starts like basically like strong arming Aaron's like, why would you do this? And then the water turns into blood. I'm like, that is different. And I love it. I love it so much. But yeah, he just like, listen, this is all I could do. I this is all I this is all I can find out, and there's no other way. But everybody died. I didn't want them to die, but things just turned out the way they did. And essentially like Armin is sharing in Aaron's burden by having him be the one to like say, hey, I'm the one who killed Aaron Yeager, and like and he just carries that burden with him for the rest of his life. It's like, hey, we'll be in hell together because of all the people whose lives I took as well. Like, I'll see you again.
And then he showed him the shiso. He was like, I wanted you to help me see this. And like, you saw this, and because of that, you went on this path.
Yep. And then at the end, Aaron basically like he says, hey, I'm erasing your memory of this conversation, but as soon as everything is over, as soon as I'm dead, you'll get those memories back. And then cuts back to reality. Everything's over. Like everybody's back to being human. And then Mikasa just pulls up to Armin with his decapitated head, and Armin just collapses. And then it's revealed that he had this exact same conversation with every single person he was close to. Connie, Jean, Mikasa, Levi. He had that conversation with them to give them closure and erase their memories until that point. And it's just like, oh.
Yes. And just to kind of just speed it along and wrap it up, with that, as everything starts to come to a close, the Marleyans, one more time, they pull up on the Eldians with guns, and they're just like, hey, we're about to just kill you right now. And they're like, yo, whoa, it's over. We can't turn into Titans. It's like, yo, you better show me right now you can't become a Titan, because I just saw all y'all turn into Titans. So we're about to kill you right now. But that's when Armin pulls up. He's like, yo, I killed Eren. It's over. So with that, the scene starts crying. And then everyone starts to see just like the ghosts of the past. So, Captain Levi, he sees all his former friends, Captain Erwin, Hanj, and he just starts crying for the first time in the whole series, is like having the opportunity to cry. We see Sasha, Connie and John see Sasha, and that was just an emotional moment. Everyone just coming together with that. So then fast forward 3 years post Rumbling, they're kind of like on a boat. We see that Paradise Island is kind of taken over, well, not taken over, but ruled by the Jaegerists. They're just like accumulating more and more military power and stuff like that. So, and then they show Historia kind of like waiting for the envoy to come. Then on the flip side, we see, the friends that took down Eren. They're on a boat. They're kind of just like the ambassadors for like the United Front to kind of converse with them. And they just kind of like want a peaceful world and stuff like that. So then to kind of wrap up the entire series, we see Mikasa sitting by the tree that they often would go to, and Eren is buried there. And she just like is sad that he's gone. She says he misses him. And then a bird comes and just like wraps the scarf around, and it's so sweet. So with that, she says thank you for wrapping the scarf around me, Eren. And then it kind of fades into just like the post-credit scenes. It's playing, and then we just like see over time, the tree keeps growing. People come and visit. Then we see Mikasa. She got to live till old age, gets buried right next to Eren, which is touching. But then it keeps going and going over time, and we see that like off in the distance, Paradise Island is growing and growing and growing to a point where it's like an industrialized society. And then you're like, okay, maybe I can cut this off. And you just see bombs like being shot at the planes and stuff like that. Then the next thing you know, you just see one, like, I'm gonna just call it a nuke falling from the sky. And then you just see like 7 other nukes following it, destroyed. And then to wrap it up, we see the tree. It's fully grown now. Paradise Island is basically destroyed. And then a boy, along with his dog, is walking into the tree the same way Emir walked into the tree. I want to say like 3,000 years ago, because a lot of time had to have passed between them. Well, like from when the new boy, I feel like hundreds, like centuries had passed up to that point. So with that, we wrap it up. a question I have for you, how different was the ending in the manga from the anime? Because the way people in the manga said it, like they were like losing their minds. And then when I like look like this ending, I was like, this is incredible, an incredible ending. Like it's very touching and it's like accurate to how the world is. Like there couldn't be a happy ending.
Yeah, no, they pretty much almost one for one did the ending the exact same in the manga. Just that one change when it came to Armin and the blood and like freaking out. That was like the main difference that happened throughout this entire ending. I can only say like the parts where it's like, oh yeah, the showing like the boy and everything, like that was kind of like added in afterwards because it really ended with like basically Paradise Island going into war and basically like that entire like credit scene of just growing and going to war. And in fact, they actually like there's actually another thing that they didn't animate, and I'm just like, dang, I really wish they did. Where essentially it cuts to like modern day, and you see like these three friends, they were in a movie theater, and these three friends are clearly Aaron, Mikasa, and Armin, just like in modern clothing. Like Mikasa's like a punk rock goth chick. Armin's typical nerd on his cell phone with glasses, and then Aaron just actually looks like Aaron. And basically they're recounting like how the entire series was a movie detailing the events of the past, and they just go, oh, and they're just like, oh man, this would have been crazy if this actually happened. And it's like, yeah, but I like to think like if those characters are real, they would have been amazing friends. And then it ends, and you're just like, oh, oh, if only they animate that part.
I feel like people would freak out because they would misinterpret it.
Yeah, they would, but that's perhaps the crux of it. I mean, we can get into it later about like the reason why people were upset about the original ending.
Yeah, so with that, we wrapped up our review, and now we're just going to discuss the legacy of the show. And then if anything can touch it, and just like the importance and impact of it as well. So we can keep the ending discussion on why people were so mad about it. Because I was terrified walking into this finale, specifically because every time I would ask a manga reader, like I know they were trying not to spoil, like when I would ask you sometimes, like I know you're trying not to spoil, but then other manga readers are like, oh man, that ending is just like, oh, if they do it like that in the anime. So if you want to take it from there.
Yeah, so I'm not speaking for myself. I'm just speaking based on like what I've seen. And the main reason people seem to like hated that ending was because of the fact that war seemed to keep going, violence seemed to keep propagating when they thought that like Aaron's whole thing was to end conflict permanently, which is just a major like just misinterpretation of the point of the story. And just how and they just like wanted it to be like, all right, they wanted Aaron's death to basically be like, basically be like the martyr. It's like, hey, his death leads to peace for the entire world. Think like Code Geass, for example, how his death basically like unified all of humanity. They kind of wanted that for Attack on Titan, and to see like, oh nah, like after like a couple hundred years, they right back into killing each other.
But like you mentioned of that, Lelouch the Rebellion, once he Code Geass, once he dies, that's the end of the story. Like there's no like years after that, essentially. Like, well, and with this, it's like clearly centuries have passed, and like he gave his friends the ability to live into old age, his people, that like there's as much as you can do. And he even admitted that, like, I can't stop conflict from happening.
Yes, and that's the part people get hung up about. It's just the fact, like, it's like, I cannot fathom that this man would die knowing that conflict is still going to continue. Like, no, that's the main issue people have with the ending, and also just the fact, like, it just as I mentioned before, they misinterpret it, so it's like really confusing to them. So it's just like, what was the point? And in my opinion, the point was like, hey, and it was the point that Armin said in the past, like, hey, we cannot stop conflict, we cannot stop violence, but like we're given a chance to live, so we just need to live our lives in like just a precious way, and that eventually we all need to do better. And that's like the hope that we live on, that we can all do better. And that's the main point that I believe Isayama was trying to get at. And just people just were not getting it. Which is why I think he needed to add those extra pages in to kind of show like, hey, like to show like, okay, the boy going into the tree and the three leaving the movie theater type of deal.
Just to show that like a lot of time had passed. Yeah. I mean, just like with that, like even if you think of like human history, like not to get into things happening currently, but just like conflict that consistently happens even when we have times of peace, eventually it's just like as long as humans exist, to Aaron's point, I mean, we're just gonna fight, and a lot of it, like with the Marleyans and the Eldians within it, where it's like there's so much going on right now, and at the same time we're back to fighting. Like to go on a lesser note with COVID, where it's just like those first 2 weeks we're like, oh, we're united, we're here, we're together. And then like a year, not even a year later, we have January 6th and people are trying to overthrow the government. So it's like, this kind of like, conflict from that perspective. But how do you feel about just the legacy and the impact of the show?
This show goes down. This show is gonna go down in history as like one of the it better be in like the Hall of Anime thing, because like just the way the story is told, like the masterful work that Isayama was able to like do in terms of foreshadowing stuff years before, and like how the anime was also able to incorporate said reveals. Like I've seen compilations where it's like, oh yeah, older Aaron appears in the past multiple times to ensure certain events play out, and you see this man in certain episodes. You're like, hey, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things where like it super encourages like going back and rewatching or rereading the series, and it's like has so much value. And again, the life lessons and the and like just the pure action of it, and to be able to show like, hey, things get real, which is why like I don't really count this as a shonen anime. It's actually more of a seinen, which for those who don't know, like shonen is pretty much Japanese way of like saying for young teenage boys. That's where you get like the more high scale action shows like Naruto, Dragon Ball, all of that. And then you have like shoujo, which is more like for like young teenage girls. That's like your Sailor Moons and whatnot. But then you have seinen, which is for adults. This is where like the stories, they're like slightly slower pace. They're more into like the story. They're more for like political drama and all of that. That's where your Gundams, this is where your Berserks, this is where your Attack on Titans live at. And I feel like this is just a masterclass in the seinen category of anime.
Yeah. It's crazy just for it to be 10 years. I've said more
actually.
Well, the anime.
Okay, anime wise, yeah.
Yeah, anime. But just like with that, I say repeatedly on the show that Attack on Titan is the reason that it's cool as an adult to say you like anime. Like, obviously, there were other shows like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Cowboy Bebop, Sailor Moon. Like, they made it popular, but to watch, but you would not like outwardly say it like you would today. And just like, man, the way this show transitioned, like you mentioned, like the foreshadowing, the first 2 seasons were like a pure survival show. There's like, we're the last vestiges of humanity surrounded by these walls. If we go outside the walls, we're going to get eaten by Titans. Survival show. And then it gets into season 3 and it's more political. And then it also opens up the world where it's just like, no, actually, here's the history of how we got here. We're essentially in a prison and like had our memories erased, don't know the history of the world. Everyone hates us. And then it gets to season 4 and it takes that along with survival and then it expands it. And like this show has had 3 of the greatest plot twists that I can remember. Like the Reiner betraying Aaron. I remember the first time I saw that. I was watching with friends. I flipped out. The second one being I'm trying to think about like the Eldians like not being, like it not being just purely they're the last humans on Earth. It's like there's more to it. And then the third one being that Aaron basically caused all of this reverse card on Zeke.
It's like, on your feet, Dad. Oh. And just the fact like this show is just able to really just get at all the like major points that like would attract somebody to a show and be like, hey, like you want some high paced action? Boom, you got season 1 to get to have you covered, and then as soon as they hooks you, you get hit with depression. And the fact like it does not hold back at all. Main characters die all of the time. Like,
absolutely.
Like this is one of the few shows that actually has like true genuine stakes. Like for example, like in Naruto, Sakura, as much as I want her to, she ain't dying. Naruto ain't gonna be dead. Sasuke ain't gonna be dead. And then yeah, and just stuff like that. But when it comes to this, you're just like, I don't know who's gonna live, because they introduce a bunch of named characters, give them character, personality. You may even identify with them. You may even like a lot of them. They get a ton of screen time, and then they gone.
I'm surprised as many people lived as they did, be honest with you. But I remember like one of the episodes like early in season 1 where it introduced like the Levi squad and just like underneath, and they're like, hey Aaron, you think you always can just turn into a Titan and take over? We got this, trust us. And then Annie pulled off and wiped them.
Just straight carnage. I'm just saying,
just like swinging them like a yo-yo.
Disrespectful. So, oh man. And then, oh yeah, we can't forget the twist that like, oh yeah, Titans were human all along.
Ooh, that was a big one. Definitely. Yeah, definitely like Aaron being, you're like, oh, Aaron's special. And then it's like, oh, Annie's the Titan. It's like, okay, how is this happening? And then like you mentioned, like the Titans, here's the history as it ties into season 2 and season 3. And actually there's more than just these 2 specialized Titans. It's like this whole backstory to it. And man, just like, and then also the themes of humanity and like pain, one of the best anime villains ever. He's talking about the cycle of hatred, and this is what it caused. Like, and even, oh yes, the start of season 4, where it's just like, it's plays into season 1, where Aaron
literally a reverse of season 1, which is crazy.
Where it's just like he destroys the Marleyans, and it's like it definitely ties into the season 1, and now we understand it, and it's so crazy like that it went through these ups and downs. So anything else you got?
Oh yeah, probably another big impact is of course like the music and the soundtracks, because the music goes dummy with the anime. Like there's
doesn't miss.
Like it does not. Remember Linked Horizon, the first opener, people were jamming to it. People had it in their gym.
Dude, first, second, and then the rumble.
And oh yeah, I was gonna get to the rumbling. That theme song has me in a chokehold to this day. I will listen to that mug. If I need to be in a certain mood, I put on the rumbling because I know I'm about to get active. And then of course probably the other biggest thing is just the fact like everybody's defending Aaron.
That's
like,
wow, yeah.
Who else besides Thanos have you seen to where like you are defending, you are like actually able to break down and defend this man who essentially said, "Ooh, killed 80% of the world."
Dude, I like when after the Sunday after I watched it, so like I woke up and it was like not middle of the night, but like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was like just doing calculations in my heads about like how much 80% would be in today's world, and like I'm like, he would have killed 6.4 billion people if it was today's population. That is insane to give his friends the chance at a freedom life. Like he said, he was a slave to freedom. Oh, jeez, hey, like you're right. We still defend him.
We still defend this man to this day. I am a Jaegerist, and I will be that to the day I die.
So just with that, is there any other anime that can kind of reach these heights? I mean, we talked about Afro Puff Samurai, of just like whether anime is peaking or still on the rise, but like they're obviously shonen. I think shonen is always going to be okay to an extent, but
Yep.
to this level of Attack on Titan, like I don't know what's out there currently or a manga that's in the win.
Like honestly, I don't know. The only one I can think of that could perhaps even come close is Berserk. If they like go and reanimate it, basically have just another new series. I know the original one, like the OG one, that one's timeless. That one's great. It just needs like that. Just needs just some modern Attack on Titan Mappa touch to it. And let's just forget that second one ever happened.
Yes.
Forget the second one ever happened, but like have this third one and just have it continue the story. I know the manga still has not ended.
Oh, it hasn't?
No, it's technically it's still going on, even though
Okay.
the author passed away. They got like new writers on board, which remains to be seen. That's why I say it's the only one that can come close in terms of just that power, because of the fact like we don't know where in the world they're gonna take it, considering the author's passed away. Maybe he left behind the notes of like, hey, this is how we gonna take.
Still not like his vision though is the tough part.
Yeah, it's like
It's like getting someone else to write Game of Thrones essentially.
or like getting somebody else to write Star Wars.
Oh. We're gonna leave that alone. But yeah, I can't think of anything, man, because like with shonen, yes, that's gonna be fun. Like Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, any One Piece. The difficulty is it's so long that like the way Attack on Titan and even what's it called, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, where it was like even Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood had to get a remake in order to like become perfection that it was. But with One Piece, it's just so long that it's like to tie it all, and it's gonna be tough. Like other things like Bleach Thousand Year Blood War, you can't like forget about the original series with all the filler. So I don't know like what can possibly be the next anime that puts people in a chokehold.
We don't know, man. We don't know. Well, I guess like hopefully, and maybe like with the success of the One Piece Netflix series, it might that might be a way for people to get in on the One Piece gang. But again, we don't know.
Right. Yeah, but for me, I'm thinking more than just
anime.
More than popularity is the thing. Like Attack on Titan is like from a theoretical standpoint, from just like watching it, talking about it, discourse of it, with like even a Demon Slayer. Like Demon Slayer is popular. That's the thing. And My Hero Academia is popular, but it's not Attack on Titan. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, for sure.
So
yeah, at this point, only time will tell. There's just going to be a giant void that needs to get filled, and we going to find out what it is.
And so just with that, we are now going to transition into a Come Get Your Rose. It can go to like many people associated with the show, but it has to go to the creator, the OG, Hajime Isayama. Thank you so much for creating the show, for just like sticking to your vision, because I know that writing that ending had to be hard. Just the temptation to be like, oh, it wasn't real, or the temptation of, oh, people forgave Aaron at the end and he got to live a happy life, and everything. But to just kind of end it the way it did, and then just the story, that actual just like attention to detail is something that can be so easily missed. And the fact that it didn't, like obviously, like you mentioned, it had the ending slightly amended, but the fact, I don't want to spin off of it. I don't want any prequels. I don't want any sequels. Just let it end, and because this was perfection. So yeah,
that's all I gotta say to Isayama. You really did it. All right, you stuck with your guns throughout the entire franchise, and you decided to go through with it. I still cannot forget that moment when I found out that you were inspired for this series by Stephen King's The Mist, specifically the ending of the movie, and how you basically kind of wanted that type of feel for your ending. And suffice to say, you succeeded, sir. You succeeded. You succeeded in heartbreaking type of ways.
yes.
Folks is crying to this day. folks is going to be talking about this show forever, and you are just hands down the perfect architect for this series and for this franchise. And I can think of no other person who was able to do that. And you just get that rose, and I could say so much more, but for the interest of time, I do want to make sure that we all know that this is, if you haven't seen it, bruh.
And we look forward to what you do next. And also we gotta give a shout out to Aaron's voice actor.
Aaron's voice actor, to the animators at Mappa. I know you guys haven't been able to see your children in about 10,000 years, but I believe after this, you finally are able to rest and go home. You can go home for the next week or so because we need you back in the studio for the next project. And just how you're able to really just show up and show out to every single artist that has been in this show for the music. Get your raise,
please. Yes. So just with that, we're gonna wrap up again. Man, just an incredible show. I literally have been like that finale affected me, man. I've just been thinking about it literally all day long when I like just go through it, and just getting a chance to talk to you about this has been so fun. So with that, recommendations I can give none other than Attack on Titan. All of it is on Hulu or Crunchyroll.
Shinzo Sasageo, Attack on Titan. Watch it, experience it, become a scout, become a Jaegerist. You won't be disappointed.
Absolutely. So with that, just some quick housekeeping. As we're recording, we're not sure which day of the week this is dropping on, but you can catch our greatest comic book movie of all time that had a very shocking ending to it. That's this week. Then you can also catch our The Marvels movie review, which will be next week with a special guest as well. And then also, if you want more of the Blurred City podcast in your life, we hopped on the Fusion Hub podcast. You can follow their socials, and that was a wild time. That's all I can say.
Oh man, I have not seen that. I have not seen the full video yet, but I already know I'm about to be sent to the canceled streets.
I mean, what else is new?
Listen, I just speak the truth. People are just not ready to hear it.
Perfect. So let's get our plugs and get up out of here.
All right. So of course we have our Instagram, our X, formerly known as Twitter, and our Threads, which is BlurredCity22. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, stay up to date on our release schedule and everything like that. We have our Discord page linked in said pages where you can join a fine community of degenerates, and you're able to just send all type of memes and suggestions for episodes and all of that. We have ourselves our YouTube and our Patreon under Blurred City Pod. That way you can, if you want to donate a little cheddar, see some exclusive episodes, like a character analysis on, again, best villain of Naruto, Pain. Come subscribe to us today. And then finally, we have ourselves our email, blurredcity22@gmail.com. That's where you can submit questions for Q&A sessions. You can submit episode suggestions. You can submit geek out, freak outs, random fan theories. We highly encourage it because it's definitely just showing support to us as Black content creators. And then finally, I am the Jedi Ronin on TikTok. I'm no longer Rogue because I have seen things. You may call me a Jaegerist, you may call me anything like that, but I am definitely a Ronin. But yeah, so I'm on TikTok, however long I got TikTok, and it may ducktail into something else. What you got?
All right, for my individual author pages, we have my Instagram, Mitri_Dash. That is METRI_DASH. For my X/Twitter, that is @matt-16. So with that, we're gonna just wrap up today's episode and leave you with some words of encouragement. Meech, what you got?
Give your heart, Shinzo Sasageo. But also, as Armin said, we have one life, so we gotta live it to the best that we can. And if there's any time for us to do better as a society, then we need to all pitch in to ensure that we are better as a collective group in a collective society.
And just like our Lord Aaron as a Jaegerist, if you have your dreams or a goal that you're working towards, just keep moving forward. even at even at the cost of humanity. So it's not goodbye forever. It's just goodbye for now. And that's the Blair City Podcast.
See you later. Get rumbled. Stay humbled.